I want to go back. 5 words that people use constantly when they see things in gaming now, especially price increases or layoffs or studio shutdowns, especially ones that have been around for a long time since, I don't know, the 90s. And that is something that has been happening pretty consistently over the last few years now. Well, from time to time, I like to actually look back and see how things were, say, in the 90s or sometime in the 2000s, or the zeros, I guess, as we refer to it. And today, we're going to look back on what I think was a magical time. A time when systems weren't stupidly expensive. Actually, we had some pretty cool games coming out tying in with things in the movie theater, and maybe it's just because I was younger, but it just felt like a more magical time period. Actually, it probably was because I was younger, and it was summer, and just video games in general at that time with no school. You get it. But let's take a look back and actually see how things were back summer of 2004, because when you see the cover, you're gonna know why I'm saying it was a magical time. Guys, if you enjoy this video and others like it, actually, where we look back, hit that like button and subscribe if you're new. So let's take a look. This is summer 2004. And yes, you see it right away on the cover. This was the summer that Spider-Man 2 came out. That was June 2004, right at the end of June, actually. And to coincide with that, they have, of course, the game that came out. And that was on PS2, Xbox, GameCube, Game Boy Advance, and PC. I mean, they went all out with Spider-Man 2. That released, they said, the day before, I guess, the movie came out. So a lot of hype around the movie, a lot of hype around the game, of course. And in this case, it wasn't one of those phoned-in license games. Spider-Man 2 is still looked back on now, to this day, as one of the better superhero games, certainly one of the best movie tie-in titles ever created. But that's what we're looking at right now. This is the summer catalog from EB Games. And they would just sort of distribute this over the course of, I think, May, June, July, and then August, and cut it off there. And then they'd have a fall release right around that time period. It's just like a 3-month span. So they'll have things out here for coupons, or at times talk about games before they're out, even though this would have been distributed after they're out. But you get the idea there. So let's go through EB Games Electronics Boutique 2004 summer. Now, they had the pre-order items. Of course, it's EB Games, or now GameStop. And they want to get you for all the pre-orders they could. At this time, though, there wasn't digital, so you did have to go to the store to get your games, and there was the threat of games selling out if they were very popular. Still, though, when you see something like Dog's Life on there, or Castle Siege, or Combat Elite, you might be safe. Although, hey, maybe the store just won't get them then if they don't have enough pre-orders. Hard to say there. But nothing too crazy. I got to make sure that copy of Madden is pre-order. I guess Tales of Symphonia. There you go. NCAA football was actually still pretty popular. Was really popular here at this time as well. Back then in 05. Okay. PS2. I have my inflation calculator up here. It's a thing that people constantly use online to talk about how prices now are not that outlandish compared to back then. There's something that is always overlooked, though. So the way I would more or less judge pricing when it comes to the system is how many games equal one system at that time. I want you to take a look at this. I mean, this is $150, and it looks like it's the PS2 combo pack. Now, what happened was, after the original Xbox released, Sony did realize pretty quickly, okay, online gaming actually might be something here with consoles. And we don't have an Ethernet port or a network adapter on our system. So they did come up with this combo pack that had the network adapter included, and they even threw in ATV Off-Road Fury 2. That had online connectivity, and you could play games like that online on the PS2 if you had everything you needed for it. Which also, yeah, there's a USB headset you could buy for $30, but $150 for the PS2 with a game, by the way, and the network adapter. And if we go over to the good old inflation calculator everyone loves to use, because it's inflation, that's what's happening here, $253.94. This was 3.5 years after the PS2 came out. That was holiday 2000 that it released in the US. So in that case, 3.5 years later, it is down to $150 or $253 today. So think about that in terms of where we are currently with our consoles, because the PS2, when it came out, it was not a cheap system. I mean, at launch, it was $299.9, so you do some conversion there with inflation. It would have been, what, over $500 or something now? But the point is, it was cut in half with its pricing. Whereas now we've been going in the wrong direction for 8 years now, I think, since 2017 with the Switch release. So, as you can see, $150 on the PS2. And, trust me, things are going to get cheaper as we go through here, but the games coming in at $40 to $50, like there's Siphon Filter right there at the bottom, 3 games equals 1 system. Think about how many games on we'll just say the PS5 that it takes to get to the $450 digital edition floor that Sony set for the new systems. And then you can find cheaper with refurbished or on sale, but I'm talking about MSRP. It's like 6.5 games. So when you think about it in that regard, I mean, yeah, things were just cheaper back then. Now, I will admit, when you talk about strictly inflation when it comes to the games, sure, you could say, hey, some of these games are like $85 when you convert them over. But everything else around it kind of not only evens it out, but still makes everything cheaper. Although, take a look at this. The Growlancer Generations Deluxe, it's a $90 set, and it comes with a watch. It's actually pretty involved for $90 at that time. But, oh, by the way, Pandora Tomorrow, awesome title. PS2 version was a little pared down, I would say, for some of the graphical stuff that they did. The PC version, I remember I had that. They had a demo, and that looked crazy back then. Didn't run the greatest, but it was still really cool looking to see in very low frame rate screenshots almost. That was it. It almost looked like a slideshow, and you bumped all the stuff up for it. Still, though, it was a cool game. PS2 Greatest Hits, though, this was a big thing we had back then as well, and even up until recently. I mean, Nintendo did this for their 3DS, right, the Selects. But PS2 Greatest Hits at, $19.99. $20. You like Gran Turismo 3, Jak and Daxter, Ratchet and Clank. The first Spider-Man, which wouldn't have been a bad idea to pick up ahead of Spider-Man 2, again on June 29th. Then SOCOM, Sly Cooper. Right? This is the big thing, is you could go in and get games much cheaper, brand new, yes, with the red banner, but Greatest Hits. It was great. It was awesome to see that kind of stuff. Okay, the original Xbox also at $150. So, we have the PS2 and the Xbox, the two big platforms really at that time for the quote-unquote mature audience at $150. The Xbox even had the hard drive, the Ethernet port in the back. It was set up really nicely here. The controllers were $30 at that time. So think about where we are with controllers now and our console. The hardware, it's so difficult for anyone to argue hardware now versus then, even with inflation involved. But $150 for the Xbox console, Fable being a big one here. They were pushing, of course, and even like Halo was down to $30. And they kept having these Vault, this is Volume 5, but exhibition, where they would do like sampler CDs and DVDs that they would send out, or you could buy technically to try out different games. I threw this in there because I mentioned this was like a legendary summer, but it was certainly a legendary summer for me because when we got towards the fall, we did have Halo 2 coming out. That was in November. I remember this summer really, really well with Spider-Man 2 coming out. The hype, guys, about Halo 2 was insane. It was crazy. This is when E3 was still in full swing, and it was a way for us to really look and get a lot of our information at that time. Even though it was kind of limited online, you would have TV coverage for this, and Halo 2 was everywhere. Oh, it was amazing. Me and my friends would play Halo every day, just about throughout the summer. We'd play Halo for hours throughout the day, and then we'd go get like Chinese food later on, or so we walk up to the Chinese food restaurant. Those are the good days. Those are much simpler times, I guess, for that. The GameCube, of course. Okay. It was $100 back then. And it started at $200 for the GameCube at launch. Again, got cut in half. This, by the way, and technically the original Xbox, 2.5 years on the market when it ended up getting a 50% discount down to these prices, which is just mind-blowing to think about. Even running it through inflation was just under $170 is what the GameCube cost. So two $50 games equals the system. The Wavebird controller even was $35 It's so funny to think the system was 100 and then the memory card was 30% of that at $30, and it was a big deal because it was 64 megs of memory. It's amazing. Even then, though, the GameCube games, they really haven't lost much value. In fact, many times they've gained value just outright. But these would have been brand new, sealed. As people say, take me back. It's like, yeah, take me back so I can just start cleaning up there. But they had Indigo, Platinum, Jet Black. $100 though. I think you get a free T-shirt with Four Swords Adventures. We had oh yeah, look at that. The Game Boy Advance SP at 100, the GameCube at 100. Same price. The handheld and then the home console. These ones, though, are roughly about the same pricing, I think, still now. So, again, if you had bought and actually, if you would have had the box, this is just for cartridge only for a lot of these games, or about this or even more. So, if you kept the box, yeah, they appreciate it a ton. But again, it was always such an interesting thing going in and seeing a lot of these games on the shelf in their cardboard boxes, which we don't have that anymore. But it was a very different experience to go in and try to pick out Game Boy games in particular, because the box art will usually lie to you. That's the thing that people forget now versus then. Big disadvantage then is that when you went into a store, you were pretty much at the mercy of whatever the box art was going to show you, and you made your decision from that. You did have you had internet access, but it's not like now where you would have had your phone with you. You would have maybe pulled up some gameplay on YouTube and, okay, that's a game I like, or no, I'm going to pass on that. This was it. Usually you would go there at the store and pick a game to the best of your ability based on the front, maybe 3 screenshots on the back, and some over-the-top explanation from marketing that's printed there next to them. So what I'm trying to say is, unless it was a well-known franchise, like you get your Metroid or a Mario or Final Fantasy or something like that, you'd usually miss. That's just the way it was. It was not an easy thing to take chances back then. I threw this in there just kind of for fun. I have no nostalgia for N-Gage. Any N-Gage fans out there, hey, let me know in the comments. This is $100 after mail-in rebate. This is the only system, by the way, or really anything that I saw in the magazine here, from EB Games, that had a mail-in rebate. And I thought about it. I said, you know what? The N-Gage was a cell phone. And that's how a lot of cell phones were done back then. They wouldn't show you the extremely expensive price. They would show you the small price, a little asterisk next to it, and then the mail-in rebate fine print below that. Still following through here. This is the N-Gage QD. So they had the N-Gage that came out, the original one, in 2003. They followed it up. As you can say, they say this was available. I thought it came out in May, though, of 2004. Doesn't matter. But this was like the revision of it, sort of. Almost like their DS Lite to the DS, okay? I mean, they mentioned the longer battery life, the brighter screen, more compact, Bluetooth wireless technology, and it apparently comes with Tony Hawk Pro Skater game for it. $100. The N-Gage was not a great system, obviously. It wasn't a good system, wasn't a good phone, so it really wasn't good at much of anything. But hey, at games at $30 here, there you go for all the N-Gage fans. There's a little bit of nostalgia as they look forward to the QD. I told you it was going to get cheaper. I wasn't stopping with the GameCube. The PS1 was $50. Now look, this was 2004. The PS1 was very old. Well, the PlayStation was. The PS1, this wasn't as old. It was 4 years old, I think, around this time. I mean, $50, guys. This is like an $85 system that would have released now. So let's say Sony went back and did something with the PS4 as they were still releasing the games, because they were cross-gen, and they made it really cheap. Like, it was a $150 system. Sort of like what this would have been here. But the PS1 had still an incredible library at this time. Yes, it would have made more sense then to save the extra money and buy the PS2. But you could still look at it as for younger kids or something where you don't think they need the PS2. Great option. awesome titles, and they're all cheap. I mean, Final Fantasy, these are the Anthology and Chronicles at $20, Crash Bash at 15, Team Racing at 15. I even have a $10 game down here with Hellboy. The point is, it was a system that was very much budget-oriented back then, to where, for today's money, for a bit over $100, you can walk out of the store with a brand new PlayStation and a brand new game like Final Fantasy or something like that. I put this in here just so all of you had to look at these monstrosity of controllers that Hip Gear did. I saw them when I was going through. I was like, nope, everyone else has to see these too. Also, this Airflow controller. Look at this thing. So the Airflow controller, look at the joystick. A D-pad does not need a joystick. I'm sorry. The Airflow controllers, they had fans in them, and the idea was, if you're playing a game and you start to sweat, the air will circulate through and dry your hands. That was the whole pitch for it, and it wasn't great. So they obviously they didn't really become much because they don't exist now. But that was something that was I at least remember being pushed heavily during the PS2, Xbox, and GameCube generation. Like, I think they all had that. Okay, so this is I couldn't believe this. This is the unbelievable part. All right, this would have been their pre-played section. They got the Game Boy Advance up there for $55. They have like stars and stuff, all kinds of stipulations for a few of these. All right. The GameCube, the PS2, I'm looking at this, I'm like, okay, sure, you're saving money, but you have to trade stuff in. Like, so, for example, the PS2, you have to trade in a PlayStation system, like a PS1, to get it to $100. Like, okay, I mean, I guess you don't really need that anymore because the PS2 plays the PS1 games. So, for this, the Game Boy Advance SP, you have to trade in your working Game Boy Advance system, which, okay, maybe you want to step up to the screen that has a light on it, so it's a bit easier to play at night. But then I look down here at the bottom. Check this out. We have the Dreamcast and the N64. Either one of them are $10. At first I was like, oh, maybe those are trade-in prices. No, that's what it was. It was $10 for a Dreamcast or a Nintendo 64. Now, you did have to purchase one used N64 game for $8 or more, or the Dreamcast game for $8 or more. That means, though, for less than $20, you would get a Dreamcast with the controller and cables and a game. Just outright. Yes, they're used, but you figure warranty on it, sure. That is incredible. I know at one point the Dreamcast brand new at retail was $50. $10. And again, this is 2004. These systems are older. Sure. I mean, well, actually the Dreamcast was 5 years old at this, 4.5 years old at this point. I mean, you just clean up. Just walk out with 10 Dreamcasts for like $170 or $180 with a bunch of games too, or the 64. And because then you look at the used games, these are the prices on them. You have to actually like think of, like, okay, so Perfect Dark doesn't qualify for that. You have to get Tony Hawk Pro Skater, Jet Force Gemini to make that happen. Pokemon Stadium. So you could get Pokemon Stadium, N64, $18. Do I have to put that through inflation? I mean, I'll do it. Don't make me do it. Okay. That'd have been $30. I get why people say take me back now. Because in your mind, you're like, I have money now. I'm going to go back and spend $30 and get this N64 and Tony Hawk Pro Skater or Jet Force Gemini or Pokemon. You can't. Pokemon Snap doesn't qualify either. Star Fox. There you go. Do they have there's Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2 at $5. We have there's Final Fantasy 7 was $10. Wow. Here are the Game Boy Advance ones. I noticed this. Used pricing on them really aren't that different. Even again from today, they've appreciated. And even GameCube. I mean, Star Fox Adventures at $10. That's probably the pickup right there. Wind Waker now at $40. It's still more than that used. But then you see like Mario Kart Double Dash at $40. Eternal Darkness at $20 that'd be a good pickup there. And then we have Xbox and PS2, which these games were just cheap in general. At used, I mean, look, Metal Gear Solid 2 at $10, Gran Turismo 3 at $10. Yes, different time back then. As I mentioned, the software when it came out new was $50. Inflation, people like to tout and everything, 85 or whatever. But guys, the used sections were crazy back then. I mean, these games got so cheap, so fast, and the systems 3 or 4 years in, not even, were 50% off. $100 GameCubes, $150 PS2s and Xboxes. So I know a lot of people will throw around oh, games are this much because of inflation. Oh, systems are this much because of inflation. And they always target the new and then also the launch prices. Go a few years into these generations and then throw it back to comparisons to where we are right now. 4 years into the current generation, like 4.5 years. Yeah, much different times now. So I get it. I look back on this and you know what? It's not just nostalgia. Outside of the fact that currently we at least have a larger marketplace because we can shop for indie titles, when you really take the big companies, like the big studios of today versus the big studios of 2004 and see what they were delivering, I get it. There was more innovation, you can say, back then with some of these games, but we also had a generational leap that I think lent itself to that from PS1 to PS2. Still, though, it's hard to argue when you see the PS2 network bundle at $150 and then look over at the PS5 starting at $450, or even worse, the Xbox at $150 versus the Series X at $600. Those $100 GameCubes. I mean, come on, who isn't picking those up now? They certainly didn't back then. And now everyone likes to share on Twitter that it was $100. But I was the lonely one there, like Will Smith at the end of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and it was tough times back then. But let me know what you guys think about this one down below. This is EB Games Electronics Boutique, their summer 2004 magazine, their catalog, and what a different time it was back then. Getting ready to go see Spider-Man 2 at the theater, and then looking forward to Halo 2 after the summer had wrapped up and we get into the fall. Whew. The good days. Thanks, guys, for watching, and I'll see you next time.